Everyone, it's Stephanie here, and today I have a fun little Easter card to share that I created using the Mama Elephant Honey Bunny stamp set with a little bit of a modification, as you can see in the picture there. This sentiment is one of my favorites from Easter cards growing up, and I really wanted to create a card using it, so I decided that these bunnies in the stamp set would be perfect to do that. So to create the card, I'm just going to go ahead and take the two bunny stamps that are combined there on that stamp and stamp it onto some white Neenah cardstock. I'm going to be using Memento ink, Tuxedo Black, because I'm going to color the bunnies with Copic markers, and this is the best ink to use when you want to color with Copic markers. So I'm just going to ink that up really well and then stamp that directly onto this white piece. I'm going to end up cutting these bunnies out, so I'm not too concerned about where I stamp it or being careful when I'm doing the coloring. And eventually when I'm done the coloring and put the card together, I'm going to put some speech bubbles onto the card that I've created on my printer. So I just went ahead and typed the two sentiments since you can't actually get these in a stamp set, and went ahead and printed them out and then ran them through my die cutting machine with a Simon Says Stamp Talk Bubble die. And they're eventually going to get adhered above the bunnies to make it look like they're talking to each other. And then to modify the bunnies to reflect the sentiments that I'm going to be using, I'm just using my black Memento Tuxedo marker to go ahead and draw some new lines on the bunny, which will eventually serve as my cut lines. So when I cut the bunnies out, I'm going to cut on these new lines that I'm creating. And these are just mimicking the look of a bite mark in the first bunny's butt, and I'm going to do the same on the second bunny so that it looks like his top of his ear has been bitten off. And that's kind of the funny part of the whole sentiment. So once I get those lines drawn on there, I'm going to go ahead and add color to my bunnies using Copic markers. I'm just using 3 different shades of brown, E55, 57, and 59. And I'm just going to lay down the first color on the two bunnies first, and it's just the lightest brown color. And I'm no expert at this, and I'm not doing anything special with the bunnies or the coloring. I'm just getting the first color down and then adding the darker 2 browns on top. I want to have some shading on them so that they look a little bit more realistic, and I want them darker with the brown so that they, when I'm done, will mimic chocolate Easter bunnies, since that's the whole point of the sentiment. So I'm just throwing the color on there a little bit at a time and kind of blending it in as I go. And then I'm completely covering both bunnies with the darker color of the brown, and the darkest color is going to be the shading around the edges. And then I'm just kind of using the medium color once again to blend that all together. And then once I have it done, I'm going to go ahead and cut these bunnies out. And like I said, I'm going to be cutting on the cut lines that I created. So you can see there, they're both missing a little bit of their bodies. And once I have those completely cut out and ready to go for the card front, I can go ahead and create the base of the card that they're going to eventually sit on. So I picked some 6x6 pattern papers from the Happy Camper and It's a Celebration paper pads. And I really like the blue paper that I picked because it kind of goes from a lighter to a darker shade, which I thought would look perfect for the sky in the image that I'm going to create. And then to do the grass area, I'm just using the Simon Says Stamp A2 curved edge card die. I love this die to make sure that it's completely even on both sides when you cut out the area that you want to use. And I'm just putting the bunnies directly on top of there and making sure that everything kind of fits how I wanted it. And then I'm just going to use some Modlon Distress ink to add a little bit of ink to the top area of the grass, just to give it a little bit more definition and add a little bit more something to it, since I'm just using plain pattern paper and not paper with much detail on it. Once I have that ready to go, I'll go ahead and adhere the grass to the sky area. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and figure out how high approximately I want the grass to go into the sky area. And once I'm happy with that, I'll just press that down on there and use my scissors to cut off the excess that I won't need for the card. And then once it's all cut out and ready to go, I'm going to adhere all the pieces on there that I've created. So I used foam adhesive on the bunnies just to give them some added dimension, and went ahead and adhered them directly onto the grass area to make it look like they're sitting on a hill looking out into the distance, kind of talking to each other about their poor sad situations of being bit. So I went ahead and adhered the sentiment talk bubbles with foam adhesive as well. And once I have that done, this panel is almost complete, and I can go ahead and get the card base ready that it's going to sit on. So for this, I'm going to be using the Simon Says Stamp wood grain cardstock. I really love this cardstock for card bases just because it has that great texture on it, and it adds a lot of dimension to your card, but it's really subtle and doesn't stand out, so it doesn't really take away from the focal part of your card. So I've been using this a lot lately and I really like it. So I'm just kind of making sure that that fits on there how I want it. And then I decided that I wanted to do a little bit more stamping. So I'm going to use the birthday balloon stamp set from Simon Says Stamp just for one of the little star images. And I'm going to be using the Unicorn White pigment ink. I'm just going to kind of go ahead and stamp this star all around the top area of the focal point there, just to add a little bit more detail to the card, because I felt like it was a little bit too plain with just the solid sky color and the solid grass color. So I thought this would just give a fun look, and since the sky is kind of darker and it looked a little bit like nighttime, I just thought the stars would add the perfect touch to the card and give it just that little bit extra something. So once I had that stamped on, I decided I needed to add a mat to that centerpiece. So I just adhered it onto Desert Storm cardstock and then went ahead and adhered it directly onto the card with some more foam adhesive. And to make the bunnies sparkly, because apparently these chocolate bunnies have sparkle to them, I just went ahead and added the clear sparkle on top of both of them with my Clear Wink of Stella glitter marker. And then that will complete the card. I was going to stamp my sentiment on the outside, which is just Happy Easter, but I decided to do that on the inside just because I felt like it would take away from the fun of the talk bubbles and the image on the front if I would have put it out there. So that completes the card, just a fun little card with a fun take on a sentiment that I've always loved. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.